Peter Ducey was reporting on the review of security for President Trump going forward, cut number 8.
We should expect in the coming days to hear about major security improvements, including that could include President Trump having to wear a bulletproof vest when he is out in public. Because, yes, this person with the gun who was staying at the hotel and came downstairs, that's a very hard thing to defend against, and they did defend everybody in the room against that. But he still got way too close with a gun. And so there are going to be major changes to the protocol here. Like we will hear a lot about the plan working, and it did work because none of the protectees or guests were injured or killed. But that's way too close, and so I expect that.
Our next guest has worked in the United States Secret Service and SAPD and as an investigator for Bexar County DA, has his own security company, Blue Armor Security. Willie Eng joins us on the KTSA Quarter Moon Plumbing, AC, Heating Newsmaker line. Willie, good afternoon to you. It's good to have you. Would you say that the security at the Correspondents' Dinner failed because the guy got close or succeeded because he was stopped?
Well, it depends how you look at it, right? The glass half full or half empty. I think, look, my opinion, Pennsylvania, they should have learned their lesson by not having that quadrant, expanded to include that building that was a threat. That checkpoint, in my opinion, was way too close. I think that the response, yes, after he broke into that secured area, they responded appropriately, but he got awfully close. He was very fortunate that he had a .38 and a shotgun and not a high-powered rifle. That's where they got really fortunate. But I think that there's going to be a lot of changes to be done. Even the venue, I think it was probably horrible. I don't know if they checked the guest. He was, he checked in 2 days prior. The person who does the advance should get a list of all the people who are staying in the hotel, who are checking in the day of, who are in the area, other surrounding hotels. You got to do your due diligence and check everything and not be complacent. And I think this was a little complacency.
I got to say, to hear you say all that, if you got to do all that, why are you having an event like this at a hotel?
I agree. Well, and this is the other thing, too, people don't understand is that the resources the Secret Service has available to them depends on the Department of Homeland Security, DHS. And so this particular dinner, this White House Correspondents Association dinner, was not designated as a national special security event, which is ridiculous. You have the president, the vice president, the Speaker of the House. How could that not be designated that? And when you designated that, you have more resources. You're able to bring more manpower in, which you were able to do. I think it's just sloppy work.
Is it maybe like retro thinking, like they're acting as if we are still in an era where, as you know, presidents used to walk around on the sidewalk and people could stroll into the White House in the 19th century and stuff. Are they just behind the times?
I don't think so. I think it's just lack of leadership, appropriate leadership that understands how to execute these jobs. Look, this is the third attempt on the exact same president. A third. They should know by now. Oh, now they want to heighten security, and now they want to put bulletproof vests, and now that should have been done after the very first. He's getting a lot of threats that we don't know about. There were times when we get called out on the social media threat, that the media would never know. We're loading up and we're knocking on somebody's house because they posted something on social media that could be a threat to the president. So I'm sure they're receiving several more threats than the public knows about.
Now, I heard John Roberts on Fox this morning, who I guess went to this dinner, and he was talking about, he said that he and his wife not only went to the dinner, but decided to stay at the hotel as guests, that they self-parked their car in the garage underneath the hotel. They had a virtual key. He downloaded the virtual key, which enabled him to access the garage elevator, the elevator to their room. In other words, he said, we carried our bags, which could have had anything in them, into the hotel without anyone stopping us or checking us. And so probably that's what this guy did. And it makes you wonder, Willie, like how this hasn't happened sooner. Did no one think of it? Or do you believe that maybe, as some have suggested, this year's security wasn't as good as it's been in the past?
It could be both. It could be both variables, right? But I understand that the president wasn't supposed to go. My understanding that he decided the night prior to go. To me, that's irrelevant. This is the president of the United States. And so you need to understand how to mobilize and to deploy the manpower you need. There was already 2 assassination attempts on him within the last few years. Okay, he's decided to go to this. Now we're going to heighten the threat level. We need more boots on the ground. We need dogs, bomb dogs, and dogs in the garage to screen all the vehicles, to screen all the vests coming and going. I mean, I just think that it's complacency. And it's very fortunate that this is the 3rd attempt and the president is still around for, after 3.
What might have happened, Willie, if instead of this single guy, it had been a team of 5 or 6 trained, if you will, professional assassins? Do you feel like that checkpoint would have held?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, look, you had a guy with a shotgun. Look, I don't know if it's birdshot or slug, but who brings a shotgun to a fight? I mean, it's just not a 38. I don't know what time if it was a revolver or semi-automatic, but who brings a 38 to a fight, right? A gunfight and a couple of knives. I mean, this is a school teacher that didn't know what the heck he was doing. You get some trained people in there, even if it is just 1 or 2, you're going to have some casualties. And it was very fortunate that we don't have any casualties. And I think it's only not because necessarily how quick they responded, but how sloppy this teacher was to try to execute an assassination.
What were your thoughts when you heard Peter Doocy mention a bulletproof vest, that the president would wear a bulletproof vest?
That should have been done a long time ago. I was surprised that it hasn't been done. I think that they're being very reactive instead of being proactive. And that's the problem with just in general, right? Law enforcement in general, they've become complacent, and we've become an agency that becomes reactive to things and not being proactive. And a lot of that has to do with the optics, right, of police work. People don't like the way it looks. They should have some SWAT-looking military guys, people standing at the perimeters. I don't care how it looks. I don't care if it's intimidating. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you shouldn't be intimidated by it. And if you're not a law-abiding citizen, then damn right you better be intimidated. Don't even try anything. And that's the problem we have, that we're playing this patty cake law enforcement across the board, whether state, federal, or local. Everyone is worried about the optics of being a police officer instead of worrying about the outcomes of and being proactive to prevent these types of things.
You sound frustrated about this, and I can see why.
Oh, I'm very, Jack, because this type of things enables this behavior. You don't think people are going to seek the weakness of the Secret Service or any other agency, the weakness, and they're going to make even more attempts. And we put our foot down on the throats of these bad guys and really hold them accountable. It's going to make them think twice. But we can't do that, right? Because the optics, and you have the AOCs of the world and the far leftists that are concerned about, oh my gosh, his rights. Well, what about the rights of the person that they're trying to take their life and the family they're going to leave behind? It's just frustrating.
I would have thought, and I'm a total amateur, so forgive me if this is dumb, but I would have thought he would get shot multiple times. Why wasn't he?
I don't know that, Jack. You know what? I was just mentioning that earlier today. I called a former colleague of mine, and I said, I'd love to see the video, because I heard probably 5 to 6 shots, from what I could hear on the video, and there was no one hit. The bad guy wasn't shot. Well, you had all these Secret Service agents engaging. Why wasn't someone shot? I don't understand.
Could they have hit their own agent, the one that took it in the vest? Do you think it's possible that
very, very much so? And I was thinking that because, if you look at the setup, they were running from different directions. So they were in crossfire. And I get it, right? When you're responding to a threat like that, you can't be always aware of the crossfire, unfortunately. And I thought that as quickly as they engaged with him, I wonder if it was a friendly fire type situation. Because you notice they said they tackled him. Well, hold on a minute. You had shots fired. Why are we tackling someone with 2 firearms and 3 knives? that is, in a typical situation, that person is shot, not tackled.
So you're frustrated, and I'll bet a lot of people in your profession are, and I, again, rightly so. The president came out and said, "Great job, thank you for your bravery," which I think politically presidents have to do, right? Who would be the force that would lay down the law and change this once and for all? Because it's not a good look politically for a president to demand that he be better protected, right? You're supposed to shrug it off and like, remember Reagan made the joke, "Sorry, Nancy, I forgot to duck," and Trump did the fight in Butler. So we're not going to get that publicly from him. Who would need to lay down the law and make this happen?
Well, you're going to have to get some leaders with some backbones with DHS, to be honest with you, that actually know the job, that understand the logistics and deployment, and it has a backbone, right, to say this is what we need, and we're not going to settle for anything less. Your life is depending on it. Because, the president knows what he knows. And so if he's got these leaders around him that don't know what they should know and they're feeding him wrong information, well, he's not going to know what's right or what's wrong. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of weak links and weak leaders within his administration in terms of, the Secret Service and some other areas on the federal side of the law enforcement.
Yeah, I do. This is probably a conversation for another time, but I do find myself kind of worried about the Secret Service in general. The other day, one of Jill Biden's details shot himself in the foot. We had the whole thing when Obama was in, was it South America or Central America, where a bunch of them were found to have hired prostitutes. And and even like Butler, that was not a good look, that detail around him with the agent that couldn't get her gun out. I don't know if DEI has happened here. I don't know if there's nepotism. I don't even really know if I believe that there aren't, just as we know other agencies are riddled with people that despise Trump and do not have his interests or loyalty to him. I don't even know if that's true of this agency.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that they're obviously, like every law enforcement agency, federal and state and local in the nation, are short-staffed, and they're really hurting. I think that the other day we were joking about going back into the force because it said that they were going to give a $45,000 bonus, sign-on bonus for those joining the Secret Service. Well, I mean, think about that. $45,000 they're trying to give you to join the Secret Service. At one point, when I came on the department in 1993, it was an honor and a privilege to be part of San Antonio's finest, where we fought to get our application in so that way we can test. It was thousands of people taking the test. Now they're begging people to come in and take the test. Yeah. And so it's very disheartening. And I would hate to think this, but are they lowering the standards so that way they can fill up these positions?
We'll leave it at that for now. Willie Eng, former United States Secret Service and SAPD, and his company is Blue Armor Security. He's a great friend of mine and a great friend of our show. Willie, thank you today.
Thank you, Jack.